Good morning, Sikh Academy. My name is Mr. Williams, and today I'll be doing the school-wide read aloud. The book that we're going to be reading today is titled Nelson Beats the Odds. And I can personally identify with this book, which is why I picked it. I really like this book. And as we're going through this book, there's one simple question that I want you guys to think about. What is the author trying to tell us, or what is the author trying to teach us? I just want you to think about that one simple question as we're going through this book. All right, and without further ado, let's go on ahead and jump into it. Nelson was off to a rocky start at a bland middle school. Miss Gronowski, Nelson's teacher, caught him playing with his friend Carlos during class. Miss Gronowski asked Nelson to move his desk to the front of the class, then to the back of the class, and eventually outside of the class. I've had enough of your antics, young man. I'm going to call your parents. No matter where Nelson moved his desk, he found someone to talk to. Nelson was in big trouble, and all he could hear was his mother's voice yelling, I sent you to school to learn, not play. Nelson will often become inattentive and disinterested in class. While Miss Gronowski stood at the board teaching, Nelson's mind wandered outside of the school walls into La La Land. Nelson sat and daydreamed about playing professional basketball with his buddy Anthony. Just want y'all to know I'll give Nelson buckets. That's what I do. All right. When Miss Gronowski asked Nelson to read what was on the board, he couldn't see it. So his father took him to see an eye doctor. When Nelson came to school the next day, he left his glasses in his book bag. Where are your glasses? I forgot and left them home. Nelson lied to Miss Gronowski because he thought his classmates would tease him for wearing glasses. When Nelson went to hand in his work, Miss Gronowski said, I can't read this chicken scratch, and put a big, fat red F on it. Nelson felt embarrassed and mumbles, maybe you need to learn how to read then. The class erupted in laughter. Miss Gronowski's face turned redder than a fire truck and she screamed, Go to the office! Now! Miss Gronowski set up a meeting with Nelson's parents the next day and told them, I suspect your son has ADHD and a learning disability. I would like to refer Nelson to our school psychologist to determine if he's eligible to receive special education services. Nelson's parents refused to put him on medication, but thought that special education would help him reach his maximum ability. There's nothing wrong with you, baby. You just need some extra help. It's not fair. I won't be in class with my friends, and everyone will think I'm slow. You're not slow. I've always told you that you're smart. Your dad and I just want what's best for you, and the school thinks the program will help. When Nelson was on the way to a special education class, Carlos asked, Hey Nelson, where you going? I'm going to the bathroom. Isn't the bathroom that way? I'm going to the other bathroom. See you later. Nelson sneaked into a special education class like a ninja. He didn't want anyone to know that he was in special ed because they would tease him. Although Nelson hated going to a special education class, he liked his teacher, Miss T. Welcome, Nelson. Miss T was there for Nelson at a time when he felt really small and needed someone to help make him feel really big. You can do it. Nelson began believing in himself and gained the confidence and skills he needed to push the boundaries to discover his potential and grow. After 3 years in special education, Nelson's grades and organizational skills improved significantly. It was his last week in middle school, and Miss Johnson, the high school guidance counselor, came over to help students sign up for classes. Nelson and his best friends, Tamika and Carlos, signed up for the same classes and crossed their fingers, hoping they would be in the same class together next year. I can't wait to get to high school and take classes with my friends. A fresh start. On Nelson's first day at Bland High School, he was thrilled to be in class with Tamika and Carlos. But moments later, the loudspeaker sounded. Nelson was called out of class. His first thought was that he was in trouble. Nelson was relieved that he wasn't in trouble, but looked suspiciously at Miss Johnson as she handed him a new schedule. 3 special education classes? Nelson was taken out of the classes with his friends and placed back into special education. Sorry, let me show you guys a picture. When Nelson got home, his mother saw him crying. What's wrong? Why did they put me back in special education? You said I was smart. I hate that school and I'm never going back. The next day, Nelson's parents met with Miss Johnson and said, my son came home crying yesterday, and you put him back in special education? We want our son out of those classes now. I'm so sorry. There must have been some mistake. I will take your son out of those classes immediately. But he will need to be placed in developmental algebra. After school, Nelson hung out with his cousin Jeremy. Bro, I'd hate to be in those stupid classes and start acting white like Tamika and Carlos. Nelson interrupted. You sound stupid. They aren't acting white. They're acting like they want to go to college and be successful. You don't understand, Jeremy. I need those classes to get into college. Jeremy nudged Nelson and replied, whatever, man. I don't need to go to college because I'm going to the NFL. Nelson shook his head and said, come on, man. Everyone knows that you can't make it into the NFL unless you graduate high school and enroll in a college. Oh, yeah, to college we go. Nelson was placed in Mr. Stevenson's developmental algebra class. Nelson became bored because the work was no longer challenging. Mr. Stevenson sure is a know it all. Whenever Mr. Stevenson had his back turned, a spitball whizzed by his head and hit the board. Nelson? Journey? Did either of you throw that spitball? No. No, both of the kids replied. Mr. Stevenson paused and shook his head. That's why neither of you are going to college. Nelson and Jeremy looked at each other and gasped as if they had seen a ghost. They couldn't believe Mr. Stevenson had said such a thing. Nelson told himself that day that he would prove Mr. Stevenson wrong and go to college. Nelson graduated high school and decided to go to college to become a social worker. He wanted to help kids reach their full potential. Nelson didn't have the grades to get into many universities, so he took classes at a community college. Community college helped Nelson build the confidence and skills he needed to transfer into a university. In college, Nelson studied hard and graduated at the top of his class. When he walked across the stage to receive his university degree, he looked into the packed stands and saw his family, friends, and former teachers cheering for him. Nelson finally proved Mr. Stevenson wrong. He showed him and the world that he was smart and would succeed despite being placed in special education. Nelson stated, I stand here today because some very special people believed in me. First, I would like to thank my mom and dad for never giving up on me and supporting my dream to become a social worker. I want to thank the teachers who saw my potential and invested in me. Miss T, thank you for your positive energy and encouraging words. You left a lasting impression on my life and helped make my success story happen. Nelson beats the odds. Nice. So, the question that I asked you guys to think about before I started reading was what the author was trying to teach us. All right. Let me give you guys a second to just think about that. What was the author trying to teach us with this story? Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. All right. I'm going to give you guys my perspective on what the author was trying to teach us. Um, well, first of all, the book was titled Nelson Beats the Odds. So I feel as though Nelson had odds stacked up against him, being placed in special education, needing to have glasses because he couldn't see, being told that he had ADHD and had to take medication. One of his teachers even told him that he would never go to college. So that's a lot of adversity right there. You guys know what adversity means? I'll tell you. Basically, adversity just means challenges. Nelson faced many challenges, all right? And he overcame them. He had one special teacher that believed in him, Miss T, and she pushed Nelson. And because Nelson believed that Miss T cared about him, he started to believe in himself. Not to mention that he had his parents in his corner, rooting him on and supporting him the entire way. Guys, girls, no matter what it is that you're going through, you can beat the odds too. All right. Some of us don't have the same opportunities and privileges as the next person does, but that shouldn't stop anybody from reaching their dreams. All of you guys are beautiful, all of you guys are smart, and all of you guys deserve the world. Just like Nelson did, he worked for what he wanted and he got it. You guys have to work for what you want so that you can get it too. Beat the odds, people. Seek Academy. See you guys.